Pada awal Julai, Bank Negara Malaysia BNM menerima 29 permohonan untuk lesen bank digital di bawah Akta Perkhidmatan Kewangan 2013 dan Akta Kewangan Islam 2013. Setakat ini, Bank Pusat mengesahkan akan mengeluarkan 5 lesen dengan pengumuman rasmi akan dibuat pada suku pertama 2022. Pelbagai syarikat memohon lesen tersebut termasuk bank tradisional. Persoalannya, bagaimanakah trend perbankan digital ini akan berkembang dan bagaimana sektor perbankan sedia ada mengadaptasi perubahan pantas ini. Kita saksikan temu bual saya bersama dengan pengarah serantau bagi ASEAN dan Asia Tenggara Backbase, Ridi Duta, Ketua Bahagian Teknologi Bank Muamalat Malaysia Berhad Megat Muhammad Faisal Khair Johari dan juga Ketua Pegawai Strategi Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad Nur Farila Abdullah. Kita saksikan. Thank you so much for joining this session. I want to start with Ridi first. Ridi, what are some of the trends shaping digital banking in Malaysia and how are banks basically responding to these trends?
Yeah, thanks for that question. If you look at what is happening in Malaysia, and while some people might feel that Malaysia has been following what MAS in Singapore has been doing or HKMA in Hong Kong has been doing, but to be fair, if you go back to 2016, that's where the fintech revolution in Malaysia started, when BNM came out with this entire regulatory sandbox framework, and that laid the groundwork for digital banking in Malaysia. It gave the fintech companies in Malaysia and in the region the regulatory flexibility to experiment with technology-driven customer solutions. So we all know that BNM is trying to come out with these 5 new different digital banking licenses. There's a lot of interest around it, but what is also happening behind the scenes is a lot of traditional banks, and we have two of my fellow panelists from traditional banks on the panel today. They have also been working behind the scenes on their own digitization initiatives, and I'm pretty sure they would be throwing some light around them as we go along. So it's not only those 5 new banks that are going to come up and get licenses, but what is also happening is a lot of these other banks, both Sharia compliant as well as traditional banks, are doing a lot of initiatives, more so on lending, financing, and credit. And that is what is very exciting when it comes to what is happening in Malaysia around the entire digital banking framework today.
Okay. We also have 2 representatives from bank and to share with us their digital banking journey. Basically, I want to start with Encik Megat from Bank Muamalat. Share with us the Bank Muamalat's digital banking journey and how is Bank Muamalat basically responding to new trends?
Okay, thank you, Najib. So basically, for us, like many organizations during COVID year, we started our journey last year. This mainly because there's a lot of restriction of movement across the country. Therefore, we definitely need to reach out to our customers because beyond this restriction. So we launched a Muamalat application platform to help us reach out to our customer better. This will enable us to directly communicating with them, assigning someone of our staff to basically handle their requests, handle their questions, and serving them to enable them to apply for our financing product and services without going to the branch. So that's the key. By doing this, basically we also reinventing how we basically reach out to our customers, because there's no face-to-face interaction. So everything must be through digital, and with digital, we must make sure to a certain extent there's human touch to it, and it must be very simplified, because when our customers facing the new norm, everything digitalized, we must make it simple to them. Right, we must make sure very minimal information required to be inputted. Then we directly assign somebody to basically help them guide for the application and so on. And also by doing this simplified customer interaction, we also need to improve our processing efficiency. We need to continue to invest in technology and improve our processes so that we can serve our customer better.
Yeah. As for Bank Islam, Puan Farila, you have Go by Bank Islam. Tell us about the journey and how has it basically changed the way you do business?
Yes, thank you, Najib. So we launched our mobile app Go in November 2019 to enhance the availability of electronic banking services. But actually, prior to that, we already have the internet banking, and we have a mobile banking platform called Tap, but that is based on SMS platform. And this Bank Islam has since way back in 2010. However, when we embarked on Go, it was the start of Bank Islam's journey in strengthening our digital channel proposition. So Go, the mobile app, is actually meant for individual customers. So apart from the basic services like transfer payments, do it now QR, we also host Tabung Haji services whereby customers can transfer funds to and from their Tabung Haji account into Bank Islam account. And we've seen a growth of 12 times the volume of transactions since we first started in 2019. So the journey is really about digital channels. How do we make our digital channels appeal, relevant, and easy to use? So apart from Go, for our merchants and retailers, we also launched GoBiz. That was in July this year. And it's a mobile app that allows retailers to manage their revenue using QR code. Very easy for these businesses to issue a QR code for their customers to make payments directly into their bank account. And for our individual investors last year, in 2020, our asset management subsidiary, BNB Investment, launched a robo-intelligence app called BEST that allows customers to purchase directly from BNB Investment Sharia ESG unit trust funds from as low as 10 ringgit. That provides great accessibility to investors out there. And then for our SME customers, we also have SME Expert, and that's a mobile app that brings together the ecosystem of SME into our platform. And also have Sadaqah House. And this is not just for Bank Islam customers to perform donation to the change makers, but it's also for non-customers.
Yeah, that's what been offered by Bank Islam under the apps Go by Bank Islam. Really help us to understand what are some of the growth priorities when transiting towards being digital first.
Yeah, I think the major thing that we are seeing right now is that when we are talking about digital first, it's not so much about individual product offerings. It's all about how do you look at the entire customer life cycle, the entire customer journey, and then start plugging in digital solutions at all stages. So whether it's starting from how do you onboard customers, how do you service customers, how do you take care of their claims, disputes, and then how do you do more cross-selling and upselling? So if you map that entire customer life cycle from start to finish, and then start plugging in what digitization can I bring in, all the products and services that a bank typically would like to offer, whether it's around financing, whether it's around cards or deposits, would automatically get addressed. So I think the first and foremost thing that one needs to look at when you're transitioning towards digital first is to move out from a product mentality to a customer first mentality. The second thing that we are also talking about, as Faila also mentioned, the different apps for retail consumers. There has been a lot of focus in the past on the retail consumers only. But what we are also seeing right now is a lot of shift towards SMEs and large corporates. That's one segment when it comes to digitization that has been underserved, if I may use the word, right? A lot of their requirements, if you look at SMEs, a lot of their requirements around payments, payrolls, invoices, financing, that is something that needs to be done. And that's where there is a lot of gap that still needs to be addressed.
And also, really, how can basically banks stay ahead and succeed in this race towards digitalization?
Yeah, so if you again look at it, the main mantra here is that look at a platform or a horizontal approach rather than looking at a siloed approach. Look at platforms which you can start off small, but you can eventually do everything on top of one single platform which can allow you to scale. And that is how, if you look at all modern B2C companies like a Netflix, like a Grab, like an Uber, that's how these guys have evolved. These guys have innovated. So that is the main thing that needs to be kept in mind, that don't look at point solutions, don't look at silos when you're trying to solve your problems, but look slightly bigger. Look at platforms which can standardize and modernize your entire stack and your entire customer processes.
Okay. Yeah, Encik Megat, according to Bank Negara Malaysia's statistic, consumer internet banking saw an increase of about 20% in both volume and also transaction value in 2020 alone. While these shifts in consumer behavior have been an ongoing trend for the past decade, the pandemic has truly accelerated years of banking digitalization processes down to just a few months. Yep. What are some of the potential for bank muamalat opportunities as well and challenges as well from this rapid changing in consumer behaviors?
Okay, for opportunities, the way we look at it, by doing digitalization, it enables us to reach out to more customers in cost-effective ways. Right. So because banking is no longer limited to branch network where we have to have face-to-face transaction kind of thing. When we do things digitally, we'll be able to engage customers in many innovative ways. It can be through social media, it can be through web, it can be through digital mobile solutions, all those things. So by doing this, it will enable us to do more cost-effective marketing and promotions. And also because now being in MCO for almost 2 years, I think the way customer behavior in doing online transaction has changed tremendously. Like what Puan Farila mentioned and Rudy also mentioned, the number of transactions, not everyone is increasing rapidly and is continue to be on the rise, right? So basically we need to really look at our own customers and also potential new customers to the bank and figure out how to engage with these behaviors, right? We can basically innovate in a way targeting very specific markets and producing products and services to address the specific market needs, right? And also because of this restriction of movement, also we seen that a lot of new things coming out, like buy now pay later kind of products, which I think in Australia, in the West, is already been there for quite some time. But here in Malaysia, it's quite new, right? And the image of this product attracting people, especially now, and they go online shopping and they're able to buy first and then pay later kind of thing, and get their product quite quickly and delivered to the home rather than going out, right? In terms of challenges, what we face is basically when you go digital, you have limitation in terms of face-to-face interaction. We need to basically carefully carve out product to suit the target market, right? No longer we can do one product to fit all kind of thing. We need to carefully analyze and select, okay, for this type of customers, the young and hip, this is the new way to interact with them and also to enable them to do business with us. So this is very important. And to summarize all, based on what Rudy mentioned just now on digital banks, customer experience is the key, right? The way we interact, the way the customers interact with us is very key. We need to make sure that it's very smooth and it's very simplified and it's fast. Yeah.
Okay. Puan Farila, do you think that digital banks should tap market sectors that demand complementary financial services that traditional banks may not be able to provide, such as the unsecured microlending? Securing these markets will open new opportunities for digital banks and also enable them to achieve penetration in traditionally underbanked segments. What do you think?
Yeah, Najib, I think tapping into the underserved and unserved markets or sectors is not merely opening up new opportunities, but it's actually the catalyst to innovation in the financial industry. I mean, if you've read Innovator's Dilemma by the late Christensen, innovation and disruption happens exactly when firms and organizations start looking at customers that they don't traditionally serve, as opposed to focusing on improving products and services to their current profitable customers. So it is really a catalyst for innovation. So what are these underbanked segments or complementary financial services, right? The underbanked segments, we're talking about MSME, we're talking about the freelance or the gig workers, those who are not employed in the traditional manner, whose income may be perceived as not predictable. And then we also have the SMEs. There's 80 billion funding gap in this sector alone. And then, of course, for Malaysian context, it is the B40. And the segments are typically unserved and underserved because the incumbent banks can't provide them the holistic financial solution. So the financial solutions that can be made more accessible to these segments are, things like data analytics, machine learning algorithms, and this could potentially provide solution for the issue of limited track record, and low credit scores, and then to improve the predictability of the credit models, and then better accessibility to rural areas. Also, how do we figure out how to match the flexibility of the income, of the gig workers with repayment flexibility? But having said that, these tools and technology are also available to incumbent banks. So there is no stopping the incumbent banks from using technology-enabled strategies.
All right. I know this is a very interesting topic, and unfortunately, we don't have much time to discuss further. But I'll promise to keep in touch with you guys to discuss further over this topic. Thank you so much, Aridi Duta, Regional Director for ASEAN and South Asia Backbase. And also we have Encik Megat Muhammad Faizal Akhir Johari, Head of Technology Division, Bank Muamalat Malaysia. And also we have Nora Farila Abdullah, Chief Strategy Officer, Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. Thank you so much for joining me.